Good morning or good afternoon, everybody, to the first Rubin Dream Job webinar of 2024. I'm Danny Rubin. I'm the founder of our company, Rubin. We're based in Virginia Beach. We provide online resources for business communication skills, employability skills, and one way we speak about those topics is through our webinar series. And I'm so glad you're all here. And I want to also, we see Tom Kimball, Michigan, go blue. Congratulations on your national championship, Tom. Bloomington, Indiana, Phoenix, Arizona, Redlands, California. So tuning in from all over today to talk about the job of a web developer, web designer, web developer. We have Don Blankinship from TechArk Solutions. Grateful for his time. His company does incredible work with websites for various clients across different industries. And we're going to dive into that with Don in just a few minutes. And Laura here providing sign language interpretation. Thank you, Laura. And before we go into the web developer conversation, I want to pass along some housekeeping notes and a free opportunity to go even further with career exploration. So let me first share my screen. And the first thing I want to share, and we can see this, right? Everybody can see the certificate on the screen. Yes? Can you just confirm for me in the chat? You see that certificate? Yes. So everybody here today live with us will receive a certificate on Thursday. So look in your email tomorrow for your certificate. You can pass out to students. You can put their name in the box and give each student a unique certificate. So that's the first thing to pass along. The second thing, to my other browser, is we have a whole series of webinars coming up this spring. We have 5 total. Today's the first one. And the next one, we're talking to an auto mechanic. We've had a lot of requests from the CTE community to talk with different sort of trades related jobs. So this season, this spring season, we're talking to an auto mechanic, also a firefighter, different roles in the sort of the civil service or the trades. And if you have not yet signed up, it's Tuesday, March 12th, 1 p.m. Eastern. If you can't make it live, we always put the recording on YouTube. But if you would like to sign up for this one, let me throw the link in the chat. There it is. You're welcome to register right now. And it's in a couple of weeks. And we'd love to have you there. So join us for the auto mechanic conversation. The guest is, here he is, Justin Winter. He's been a 14 years as a head mechanic at a auto body shop here in Virginia. So please join us if that would be of interest to your school. Even if you want to register and then share it around the school or take this link and pass it around the school, we'd love to have you join us live on March 12th. The second thing I want to mention before we get into the conversation with Don is how many of you have been to our webinars before? Can I see some hands up? Who's been here before? And now show me the hands if you're new. You've not been here before. This is new for you. Any hands for that? Any new people? Okay, so more new than old, and that's okay. So what we do is we do live webinars, full conversations for across different industries, different occupations. And then we take the best moments, the highlights from the conversations, and we put them into an online platform called Aspire. And Aspire is a library of all the people we've spoken to with just the best moments from the 30-minute, 35-minute conversation, the best 1 to 2 minute clips. So if I check out, for example, our health science conversations, see all the people we've spoken to, and then if I open up a page, we've taken the best moments and put them in a site so they're very easy to access and watch with discussion questions, with a certificate, everything you need to learn about an occupation in 5 to 10 minute segments. The content is also available in Canvas modules or in Schoology. Everybody type in the chat your learning management system right now. Google Classroom, Canvas, Schoology, what do you use? Put that in the chat. So what I'm showing you is a library of almost 70 jobs, over 250 clips, a huge library of all kinds of people ready to go, quick clips and discussion all the exploration resources you would need for the entire year for middle school, high school, higher ed, adult ed, whatever the situation might be. And so if you are interested in, let me pull off my, turn off my screen share now. If you would like to explore this resource for your class or for your school, what we're doing this semester is offering free access to this library. This is a paid resource for the school for the next upcoming school year, per cost per site to use this resource. But if you'd like to explore it at no cost this semester, I'm going to give you a link in the chat to request that, and then our team will set it up. Okay, we're going to offer this opportunity throughout the webinar series. If you go to the Calendly link and you'd like to have this resource for free to use this year, it basically is these webinars on steroids. It's just a whole lot more of this type of conversation. So if you like what coming today and what we're doing here, if you'd like more of it sort of on your own time, sort of better organized and faster than YouTube, just go to that Calendly link and we'll set it up for you. All right. With that said, let's turn our attention to the guest today, Don Blankinship from TechArk Solutions. Don, I'll have you first introduce yourself. I know you wear a lot of hats over there, and you can speak on just about anything that goes on at TechArk at this point. But hopefully, this one's right in your wheelhouse of helping clients build beautiful websites. So introduce yourself and the company, and then we'll dive into the topic.
Outstanding. Thank you so much, Danny. Thank you for having me. Certainly appreciate it. And I want to make this as valuable and informative a time we have together as I possibly can. So my name is Don Blankinship. I'm the Sales and Marketing Director for a company called TechArk Solutions. We're based in downtown Norfolk, Virginia, but we do serve clients primarily up and down the East Coast, but we have clients all across the U.S. and some internationally as well. TechArk's been in business for we just passed our 12-year anniversary earlier in the month of February, and we specialize in a couple of different areas. Number one, first and foremost, being website design and development. Coupled with that is also managed hosting and maintenance of the websites we build. Secondarily, we offer software and app development. So software and apps are essentially one and the same, but the interface and how a user engages with that piece of software or that app is really the primary difference. But we do have extensive experience in both software and app development. And then last but not least, digital marketing services. So essentially anything within the Google ad space, paid ads, social media ads on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, X, so on and so forth, as well as on and off page SEO. So what TechArk is, we consider ourselves industry agnostic, meaning we don't focus on a specific industry or vertical. Our clients come from a wide variety of different industries. What you can see on the screen is just a quick snapshot of some of the clients we serve, from defense, Fortune 100 defense companies, small mom and pop retail shops, higher education, cities, municipalities, IT companies, you name it. Any sort of business or organization that has a need for a website and utilizes their website for their business purposes in any way, we have the opportunity to serve them. So we've got a team of about 130 folks in total, and that includes all of our sales, marketing, account management, project management staff, as well as our full development team, which includes full stack developers, as well as front end and back end developers and designers, quality assurance, coders, engineers, so on and so forth. So we bring a lot to the table, and again, like I said, really looking forward to this discussion and sharing as much information as I possibly can to help inform your students about their future career plans.
Thank you, Don. And wow, 130 people. I didn't even realize it had gotten to that. That is a lot of people.
We've been growing.
Pratik to manage every day. So, all right, as we get into the conversation, I want to encourage everybody to go to the Q&A along the bottom of the screen and start putting in your own questions. Put your questions for Don, and I will pick them out as we go. But and when you do leave your question, please put your name and your school so we can give you proper credit. Okay, so let's just start high level, Don. When we say website design and development, what does design and development mean? And do most companies sort of do both at the same time?
Great question. So website design is essentially, it's a pretty straightforward definition. The design is essentially the look, the feel, the appearance, the navigation of the website. So we do work with a lot of other agencies that we collaborate with, where in a case where they have a talented designer on staff, where we can receive the design files from that designer, we can then work on the back end development. But the design is essentially, again, the user-facing interface, the homepage of a website, anything that a user can see. That's essentially what the designer is responsible for. When you start talking about developers, there are a couple sort of categories of developers. There's what's called a front-end developer. A front-end developer is primarily responsible for creating, again, the visual elements of a website, a web application, or a piece of software. That's the part that a user or a site visitor would interact with directly. Front-end developers sometimes overlap with the work of an actual designer, in the sense that they work with technologies like HTML, which is hypertext markup language, CSS, otherwise known as cascading style sheets, and other elements like JavaScript in order to implement the design that's provided by the actual designer. Okay. They also work with frameworks like React, Angular, Vue.js, and ultimately build interactive and dynamic user interfaces. Compare that or contrast that with a back-end developer. The back-end developer focuses mostly on the server side of web development. They deal with things like logic, database interactions, and different server configurations that are necessary for the functionality of the web application or the piece of software. The back-end developers primarily work with Python, Ruby, PHP, .NET, or other server-side scripting languages or code, as well as databases like MongoDB or MySQL. They often collaborate closely with the front-end developers to integrate that server-side logic with the user-facing interface. So those are, again, front-end, back-end, and then a full-stack developer has proficiency in both front-end and back-end technologies, and they're capable of working on all aspects of web development.
Well, you gave one thing I really like is you named a lot of specific coding languages or products or programs, and that's something we're really big on in these sessions, is getting practical with students. And I was going to get into this a little later, but because you went down that road, if a student is watching this right now, they're in high school, they're in adult ed program, they're wherever they really are, even in middle school, what coding languages, what some of those words you just mentioned a few minutes ago, what do you think would be the most essential skills for students to come out of school with so they could work at a firm like yours?
That's a great question. So there are two primary scripting languages. One is called PHP. It's initially, from the early days of the web, it stood for personal homepage. And for whatever reason that I can't answer, that acronym was never updated. Essentially, it stands for Hypertext Preprocessor, not to get overly technical, but ultimately it's a scripting language that powers a lot of the features and functionality of any website. So that's a high-level explanation of PHP. The other primary scripting language is called .NET, otherwise known as ASP.NET. That's a Microsoft-based framework, and it's typically reserved for developers with a much more specific skill set and knowledge base and education within .NET frameworks. Within either of those, there are a variety of different code bases, scripting languages, and different frameworks that can be implemented to enable different feature sets and functionalities within a website or a mobile app or what's called a progressive web application, which is essentially a piece of software that's accessible via the web and does not need to be downloaded to a user's phone or tablet or device. In terms of what a high school or an aspiring student can sort of focus on, most web developers, at least those that we have on our team, most of them have at minimum a bachelor's degree in either computer science or information technology, or sometimes related or parallel fields. That said, having a formal education is not always a strict requirement. At least it's not for TechArk. There are other individuals with alternative sort of educational backgrounds, and a lot of individuals who are self-taught, who have a strong portfolio that have been extremely successful in web development. Now, I know a lot of colleges and universities offer specialized programs or courses in web dev or front-end, back-end development, or even full-stack development. And those programs typically cover things like programming languages like PHP or .NET that I mentioned, various web design principles, understanding databases, algorithms, and other sort of software engineering concepts.
Okay, that was great. And I see now that we had a similar question to mine from, if I'm saying this right, Ariane from Rock Ridge High School. Thank you for your question. It was essentially what I asked, and I didn't catch it till now. So please keep putting your questions in the Q&A if you can, not the chat. I'm trying to leave the chat for other information. And that was very helpful. So let's go. I know you've prepared some recent client websites that your team has built. Let's start with the one for Coastal Virginia. It's really pretty, like that hero video. Let's look at that website together. Talk about what it took to put this together. Like think back on the project. Let's just because I think we want to make students aware that doing web development for a company like TechArk, you're not just working by yourself. You are working at the service of a client. So that brings in a lot of communication skills, which we'll talk about, but also just building something that the client needs, not just something you want to do. So let's talk about the interplay between TechArk and the customer here
Sure.
for Coastal Virginia or visitcova.com.
Can you see it? First of all, can you see the screen?
Yes.
I'm sharing.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's a lot. The hero image is coming at us. Yeah.
Okay. There might be some delays with the animation
Yeah.
with the Zoom call, but if you're looking at this website, just go to visitcova.com and you'll see that the animations, there's no pause in the videos, or there's no lag time with regards to Zoom. So to answer your question, Danny, first and foremost, communication with anything and everything that we do in web design, web development, or software, app development, digital marketing, you name it. Communication it's a pillar of our company, because without clear, direct communication, it's impossible to define the scope of a project, the features and requirements. It's also very difficult to understand the purpose of the website. So with most websites, they serve one of a handful of purposes. One, to tell the story of the brand and the company, who they are, what they do, and what value they bring to you as a potential site visitor, a potential customer. It also helps sort of with website development. We're always taking into consideration things like search engine optimization. So we want to make sure that the website, when someone's searching for a product or a service or some information, we want to develop the site so it's easy for Google and other web crawlers like Bing or other search engines to identify the purpose of the website and how relevant that website is to the search that user just conducted.
Hey, scroll down a little bit while you're talking. Let's get to another spot on the site. So
Sure.
yeah, there you go.
So again, so Coastal or visitcova.com is sort of a consortium of different convention and tourism departments throughout southeastern part of Virginia. So you think Virginia Beach, Williamsburg, Norfolk, other areas within. You see this sort of map right here that highlights the area that Visit Cova serves. There are a lot of sort of competing visitor and conventions bureaus that are looking for visitors and traffic to come and visit this part of Virginia. But as a collective, they wanted to sort of present themselves as a go-to region, not just a city or a specific destination, and really highlight the benefits and all the fun things that you can do as you're visiting Virginia and Virginia Beach and other surrounding areas within this region. So when we talk about communication and understanding, the first thing that we need to do is understand the purpose of the website. Who are the visitors? What actions or feeling do you want them to have once they've come to the site, visited, and learn more about your organization or your business? In order to build the site effectively, we really have to know the purpose. And then beyond that, again, with this particular site, this is more of an informational, I would call it more like a quote unquote a brochure site. It's not really designed to elicit an action. There's no form submission. There's nothing that you can really purchase directly from the website. Ultimately, it's a place where you can see all that Virginia, the southeastern coastal Virginia part of the state, has to offer. So
let's go to another site that it has more action on it, asking users to take actions, and we'll talk through the process that way too.
Sure. So this site it's an organization called the Neighborhood Harvest. If you're familiar with HelloFresh, it's a local / regional version of HelloFresh, where Neighborhood Harvest partners with local and regional organic farmers. They have their own hydroponic farm in Suffolk, Virginia, which is adjacent to Virginia Beach and Norfolk. And the purpose of this website is to have new customers sign up for essentially their subscription food and prepared meal home delivery service. And you see on this website, the homepage essentially tells you who they are, what they do, their values, highlighting some of the initial products that they want to promote. But the functionality is, you see this big login button here. This is where an existing customer who's already signed up can go in and update, place a new order, edit an existing order, make changes to their account. That's where we talk about databases, MongoDB, MySQL, having a massive customer database from which to draw information when a user logs in about their account, future and past orders, preferred products that they've ordered in the past. That's really the primary functionality of the site, is to serve existing customers, but also really to attract new customers to sign up for the service going forward.
Quick question, Don. Well,
Yes.
Kimberly Zogalis asked, what platform does your company use to build sites? Is it WordPress? What are you using in the back end to build these sites out?
So primarily the content management system that we use at TechArk is in fact WordPress. The Neighborhood Harvest site is built on WordPress, and the Visit Cova site was also built on WordPress. It's the most widely used content management system in the world, really. Of all of the web platforms out there, WordPress probably has about a 40-ish% market share. The next closest being the do-it-yourself website builders like Squarespace and Wix. But at TechArk, we primarily use WordPress because for our clients, it tends to be the easiest to use on the back end. So we train our clients on how to, if they have a new product they need to add, or if they want to swap out photos or images or update any of the content or written verbiage, we train them on how to do that on their own. And WordPress makes it very easy for that user to do it themselves.
So one thing that when I worked in like marketing and public relations is when a client shows up, there's a good chance you've never heard of them or you don't know their industry. So there's an element of having to teach yourself or ask a lot of questions about the industry so that you can effectively do the job for them, because you have to be kind of a quick study.
Yes.
I want students to understand that when you work in web development and you're not working for one company, but you're working as sort of client services, sort of anybody can show up and need help. You're constantly having to engage with an industry you may not know. And I know that's the case for your team, where it's every day a new person walks in the door and you're like, well, you got to learn about, home delivery of produce now, or we got to learn about this or that. Never done that before. So what are some of those upfront questions you ask, and why is listening so important?
That's a fantastic question, and listening and asking good questions is at the core of at least what I do. Again, as a sales and marketing director, my job and the team of people that I work with, our job is to connect with new customers, prospective customers, inbound leads, and really understand who they are, what they do, and why they're reaching out to us. That's really the first thing that we need to understand. We want to know about their existing website, if they have one. What are the aspects of the site that they like? What are the aspects that they don't like? It could be features, it could be functionality, it could be design, it could be one or all of those factors. So our job in terms of communication and listening is really trying to define, based on what they know now about their current website, what they need in the new website. Is it really just a brand refresh? Are there specific features, functionality, or different third-party integrations that need to be implemented to allow the website to do what that business or organization needs to do? Now, depending on the industry, depending on the business and the individual or team that we're speaking to on the client side, we typically spend at least 30 minutes or so prior to the meeting, that initial meeting or conversation with that client, to map out what we know, what we can see about the site, and formulate the questions that we're going to ask, so we can start to develop an understanding of current situation and future situation, and what that future situation needs to look like to improve upon what they currently have with regards to their website. Oftentimes, what we call our discovery process, our needs assessment, Sometimes that might be one meeting. Sometimes it's 4, 5, or 6 meetings
Wow.
to really understand the full scope of a pending website project. With, again, going back to this neighborhood harvest project, I probably met with them about 12 to 14 times before we actually got to a point where we developed a formal proposal that included all of the details that they need, all of the scope, all of their preferences, nice to haves, need to haves, and sort of future considerations as well. So that was a very extensive process. I wouldn't say 12 to 14 meetings is
That's a
the
lot.
norm. I would say maybe 3 or 4 is probably a better, more realistic time frame, and maybe 30-minute to 1 hour long meetings to really collect all the information we need. Because what we do in sales and marketing and ultimately collaborating with our design and development teams is we're the first point of entry to document everything that our design and development team will do once the client gives us the green light and ultimately signs an agreement to move forward. So
Okay.
all of that listening that we do, we have to understand it so we can effectively communicate it to our project management team, our designers, developers, and ultimately our support team so they know what exactly that client needs. And we have a process built in place where the formal proposal that we share with the client that includes the scope, the pricing, the project timelines, and all of the deliverables, that proposal document, it's converted directly into what we call a project brief. And that's the framework or the guideline that our design and development team follows once they begin working on the project itself.
Thank you very much for that. We have a couple of questions. I'm going to combine them. Denise Hunt and an anonymous person. I'm going to combine these questions. Um, how would a student get their foot in the door at a place like TechArk? Are there opportunities for students to be involved? And on top of that, what kind of traits do you look for in young people, entry level, perhaps?
Mhm.
How can people just kind of get started as a student or entry level?
So we do offer internships, summer internships for local and some regional college students. Sometimes they're in design development, sometimes they're in sales or marketing. It depends on the student and what he or she is most interested in, what sort of availability we have at that time. So there are internship opportunities that we provide. In terms of what a student should be prepared with, sort of a baseline or entry level skill set, at the very least, coding 101, really understanding how to develop and design code bases, and understanding a baseline scripting language. That's really the minimum requirement. And that sort of foundational piece of having an understanding of coding will serve that student well as they learn more about specific scripting languages and things like HTML, CMS, and different database integrations.
Okay. Um, I want to I want to stress something because question for the group, for all the attendees. How many of you have heard from your industry partners that you work with and do internships and co-op that they want to see more soft skills? They want to see the soft skills from the students. Do you ever hear that request? Any hands up for hearing that? We know that so many times these students often come out of school with great technical skills, and the employers are constantly asking for soft skills. And one thing where I think, Don, you probably have to be very delicate with soft skills with these projects is managing expectation
Yes.
because you can only afford a certain amount of design and development, and also
Mhm.
these projects often take longer than they everybody wants them to take,
Yep.
and so you have to manage when we're going to go live. And how do you bring in sort of soft skills, diplomacy, nuance, carefully managing a relationship? That has to be right alongside the coding, is just keeping them informed and happy and satisfied till the
Yes. I mean,
end.
that's a loaded question,
I
Danny.
know, but that's really what we need. These students have to come out
Yes.
prepared to not just code, but
Mhm.
know how to manage relationships.
Yes. Our entire business is built on relationships. The majority of the business that we have, we don't cold call. We don't send out email blasts. We do a lot of networking. So we shake a lot of hands and introduce ourselves to a lot of people. And we also get a lot of referrals. And a referral to us is the biggest vote of confidence and
Of course.
satisfaction with the quality of work that we've done with the past client. In terms of soft skills, I mentioned earlier that TechArk is industry agnostic, and we don't just work with a wide variety of different industries, different business verticals. We also work with a lot of different personality types, and
Yes.
sometimes the individual that we're talking to may be the owner of the business. Sometimes it might be a marketing VP or a chief marketing officer. Sometimes it might be an IT manager. Oftentimes it's an office manager or even sometimes a receptionist who's been tasked with finding a web development partner. So again, one of the first things that we ask is, who are you? What is your role within the organization? And what role do you think or do you expect to play in the web development project once we get started? So we know we can sort of cater and tailor our conversation to the individual that we're talking to, because if we're talking to an IT director, for example, more likely than not, they're very technically proficient. So we want to make sure we're sort of speaking
Yeah.
in their language and speaking in a manner that they understand. Whereas if it's someone with less sort of technical proficiency, we want to make sure that we're speaking to them in a way that they understand, but also they're reporting back to the owner or the CMO or the IT director, and they need to be able to articulate what we've explained in a way that they understand and are successful in articulating that to the ultimate decision maker within the organization. So
I
the soft skills are communication and soft skills. If we didn't have that, we probably wouldn't exist. I mean, it's that critical. And our project managers and our development team oftentimes interact directly with the client as well throughout the project.
right.
Our project managers much more often than the actual developers. However, the developers sometimes are on the calls, and I think by default, I think it's maybe somewhat of a stigma, but developers tend to be much more focused on technical aspects of design and development. And they're much more accustomed to speaking to a computer or other individuals in close proximity. So when they talk to a client, sometimes their communication is very bold, very blunt, very direct. I think most clients understand that they're not talking to someone who's well versed in like customer service or customer relations. They're the people who just get stuff done, and I think
Yes.
most of our clients at least appreciate that. That's why we have a project manager to be that sort of conduit liaison between the hyper technical individual and in some cases the business owner who knows very little about the website other than what they need and what they want in the end product.
Well, I think it's so critical, and I hope we've addressed it enough in our conversation today that there is a tremendous amount of technical knowledge in this job, but just as much relationship management and learning how to work with people. And I do think that as we move into this new AI era where some more and more tasks will be automated,
Mhm.
it's possible that the relationship management will matter even more because you're hiring a company to get you through a process and you
Mhm.
need to like who you're working with so that even if they end up making you the website and it's done, you want to like them enough to tell the next person to use you instead of being like, yeah, TechArk got it done, but I did not like how they talked to me, how they, and then you won't get that referral. So the people skills are way at the top now, and even more so over the next forever.
Yeah.
Um, I want to go back to what I mentioned at the very start of our webinar, Don, and then we'll wrap up with you. So hang tight 1 second. For those who joined a little bit late, I want to reiterate. Hold on, let me pull up this. What I mentioned at the beginning is that we take all of our webinar conversations and we put them in a platform available through Google Classroom, Canvas, Schoology called Aspire. And Aspire, we organize all of our conversations: business management, health science, hospitality, entertainment, law and public safety, manufacturing, trade, marketing, STEM. And we organize these jobs, and we have almost 300 clips now of brilliant things. And I've already heard some things that Don said that I'm like, oh, yep, that's going in Aspire because he said it succinctly and it's a great point about the job. So if you are interested in more career exploration content on your own time, we are offering free access to this platform the remainder of this spring semester. All you need to do is meet with our team for a few minutes and we'll give you access and you can hop around and do what you need to do. And so let me just reiterate that offer that I put in the chat a little while ago. I'll do it again. And it'll take you about 15 minutes to get set up, and you can explore Aspire all you'd like and let other teachers take a look at it too. Because it's a newer resource from our team, and we want to continue to make sure people know that it's out there as an extension of these webinars. So there's your free offer for our session today. We've done a lot of free offers in the past, a lot of worksheets. This time we're going to focus on Aspire as our freebie out of being here today. So Don, to wrap up our conversation, we have a lot of aspiring web designers here, or people who may want to be in your shoes, more of the sales and marketing. If they want to go out today and get more experience, how can they start? Can they just go to a website and just start practicing? Does it have to be that complicated? Can they just hop in today and start teaching themselves some things? How can they
They
get
can,
started?
yeah, I mean, web development is a field where self-study and sort of continuous learning are highly valued. Obviously, web technologies, internet technologies, different software applications, mobile apps, things of that nature, constantly evolving and constantly expanding in terms of different capabilities, feature sets, and different integrations. There are, I can't think of any off the top of my head, so forgive me, but there
That's
are a
okay.
lot of online tutorials, courses, and resources available. I mean, they can go to, I would say, platforms like Code Academy is one that I'm
Yeah,
aware of. Coursera is another. Um, there's one called Free Code Camp and others. I think when you search one of those names, you'll probably see other competitors sort of running
yeah,
ads to get the attention of someone who's interested in that type of online tutorial, sort of self-study type of program.
great.
So, I mean, that's a good place to start. And, you know, I mentioned earlier Wix and Squarespace. Those are really like, there's not a lot of development or design that goes into that type of platform. Those are essentially sort of pre-built drag and
Yes,
drop website builders. But just to get an idea of how a web framework operates, obviously it would not be actually coding or development because you're dragging and dropping what are essentially pre-existing templates to format a website in a way that you like, but it would give a student who doesn't have any sort of existing skills or education exposure to web design and web development at a very baseline level, so they can get sort of acclimated with again some of the more basic features of how a website is put together.
great. That's great. Great answer. Great way to wrap it up. Don, I want to thank you for your time. Very busy. Company is amazing. I mean,
Pleasure.
the growth of having observed TechArk over the years, I think it's incredible. You're at the center of that, and you have a lot to be proud of for what your whole team has built. So thank
I
you for
appreciate
taking time and speaking with us. Thank you, Laura, for your services. Thank you all for being here. I hope you'll join us in 2 weeks to talk to an auto mechanic, and we'll learn all about that world and then put it on YouTube and put it in Aspire. So thank you again. Look out for your certificate, and we'll see you soon.
it. Thank you,
Thanks,
everyone.
Don.